got to share one story about my grandfather. His response was to get angry. Fortunately, because I was a grandson, the anger was never directed at me, right? Now, I felt the effects of it because it had affected my dad, right, and other family members. Never directed. So he used to take me to pro wrestling. It was the first Monday night of every month at the Fargo Coliseum, and he had a group of 4 buddies, and they had 5 permanently reserved seats, front row, Fargo Coliseum for pro wrestling on Monday nights. And once in a while, when one of the guys couldn't go, he'd call me up and pick me up at the house, and off we'd go. And so one day, I'm about 10, 11 years old, and he picks me up. It was February. Get in the car in this station wagon. My grandpa's, and he's got his Stetson on in the car, and he's smoking a cigarette. Dan Waters next to him. He's smoking a cigar. And Carl Peterson smoking a pipe. Gus Reeby, he's got a cigarette, and I'm sitting in the back. We get to Detroit Lakes, 10 miles down the road. I can't even breathe in this car. The windows are off, and it's so smoky inside. They can't see out the windows. My grandpa's got the windshield wipers on. Said, it's so foggy. I don't know why it got so foggy. So we get to Fargo. We see this pro wrestling match, and there's always Dan Scrap Irons Pajensky. He's in the first match. He was also a referee later on. My grandpa never thought it was the same person. I thought, no, the referee looks like Dan Scrap Irons Pajensky. Said, oh yeah, they just look a lot alike. But that's something different. The last match of the evening is a tag team match. And it's Dirty Dusty Rhodes and Larry Pretty Boy Henning. Remember Larry Pretty Boy Henning? Oh yeah. So, yep. So these are the bad guys, and I can't remember who the good guys were. So you could know who was supposed to win, right? And so they're wrestling as a tag team match, and at one point, Dirty Dusty Rhodes is in the middle of the mat. He's got one of the good guys down on the mat, and he's almost got him pinned, and the referee is down, and he's down on the floor, and he's giving him the 10 count, and he'll get to about 5, and the guy will lift his shoulder, and he has to start over. And Larry Pretty Boy Henning comes around the outside of the ring, and he gets right in front of us. So he sneaks up on the good guy who's up on the outside of the ropes, sneaks up behind him, puts him in a chokehold, right? And he starts pounding on his head. And the referee's got his back turned. My grandpa was really upset. Everybody's shouting. But he hated bad guys. I mean, my grandpa had pro wrestling magazines in his real estate office. I mean, it inspired a lot of confidence in his customers. But this was his recreation. He believed every word in these magazines. And he couldn't believe the cheating that was going on and the indignation. And a whole life worth of indignation comes out. And he's up and he's shouting, and everybody in the Coliseum is shouting. The referee is pretending not to hear it. So he reaches over to Dan Waters, this nice little old guy. He's got a cane. He's sitting there with his cane, and he reaches right across me. He grabs his cane, and he goes up to Larry Pretty Boy Henning, and he whacks him on the head. And Henning turns around, and he grabs the cane, and he throws my grandpa. My grandpa just runs down. And he sits on his seat. Larry Pretty Boy Henning's got the cane, and he's choking this guy with the cane, and the whole Coliseum is standing up, and they're shouting, and the referee says, something just happened. And finally turns around, they call security guards, they get the cane away, they get order reestablished in the ring, and they've got 2 security guards, and the referee are walking around the outside ring saying, whose cane is this? And Dan Waters is sitting there. Dan Waters, meekest, nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. He's sitting there, he just raises his hand like he's in first grade. Raises his hand. They pick him up under each arm and escort him out the Coliseum. My grandpa just sits there like So I decided right there I'm going into ethics.